Joining me now is Olivia Troy. Most recently, of course, she was an advisor to Vice President Pence and top aide on the coronavirus task force, but quit after 8 months over the administration's handling of the pandemic. Olivia, it's good to see you again. I'm really eager to talk to you about your insights. What is going on here where we haven't heard from the task force? All the experts that we know of, led by Dr. Fauci at NIH and the experts at the CDC, are not being consulted. And instead, we're hearing from the osteopath, who is the White House physician, who is refusing to answer basic questions about the lung scans, the oxygen levels, at least he misled on that initially, and the viral load.
Hi, Andrea. Thanks for having me on your show again. What you're seeing play out is you're seeing a scenario that the task force is very used to seeing on a daily basis play out on a national stage. And this time, the patient is the president, not all of the Americans that have been suffering during this pandemic. It's the president himself. And, it's unfortunate that the task force isn't consulted. He has some of the greatest minds and experts sitting right there at his disposal. I have certainly leaned at them at hard times when I thought I had been exposed, and I felt grateful that I had these colleagues that I was working next to me who know what to do in exactly this situation. And in terms of Dr. Conley, I got to know him well. He is a Navy officer. I think he is in a very difficult and impossible situation. I know that he's trying his best. I mean, I'm sure he was raised like I was, where my mom said, tell the truth, don't ever tell a lie. And as a military officer, I'm sure that he is struggling with that, along with the pressure that he's facing inside the White House with these political dynamics. And I think the conflicting messaging that you're seeing is typical for this White House, where they honestly can't figure out what they're going to say the next minute, because, to be frank, it's usually all lies. And the doctor is sitting there trying to figure out how he, carries out his oath in a situation that I know he feared someday would come.
Well, this is the same doctor who also went along in a letter with the prescription of hydroxychloroquine. So shouldn't that be alarming enough to have him in charge nominally? Certainly he's the briefer, the lead briefer, and in charge technically of the care in a potentially life-threatening disease, depending on how it's handled, of the President of the United States.
It is, and it is a prime example of the national security crisis we are in as a country. When you have a military officer, a physician, in this situation, and you see this happen repeatedly, where they are put in a very difficult position, this is a sign to Americans. Every single American should be watching this moment and processing what is really happening here. It's dangerous.
And what are you hearing, if anything, from inside the White House, from your colleagues? Because we're hearing that they're not getting real, direction from the chief of staff, that they're concerned they're not getting real information. The latest being the press secretary, who didn't know why she was pulled off the Bedminster trip, didn't know until later that Hope Hicks had tested positive.
This is the culture inside the White House. It's a culture of paranoia. It's a culture of fear. And quite frankly, it's a lack of transparency that happens on a daily basis, even amongst the White House staff. And, what you're watching is a breach in protocols. I mean, all of these people who were exposed should be isolating. They should be quarantining. They should be protecting each other. They shouldn't be at work. But I can tell you firsthand that there were times on the immediate staff of the vice president where people were exposed to someone who was positive and who experienced COVID symptoms. And after 2 or 3 days, people would get frustrated and then call them back into work and say, forget the quarantining, just get in here. And that's just, frankly, it's dangerous. It's not safe, and it creates for this type of environment. And I have no doubt that Kayleigh is probably likely not to be the last one. We're going to see more people test positive, and we're going to see them, suffer from their own detrimental guidance, which is the lack of guidance that they're following.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.